The shear pin costs 89 cents for 2 of them, and the motor costs $1,000. So our first kind of almost major issue with the rig, with the Holy Roller. We got everything ready for our last camping trip up to Orchard Lake. All the slides came in, we drove up there, and when we parked, I put the den slide out. And when I came back to put the slide out for the bedroom, it wouldn't move, even though I hit the switch. And it completely flummoxed me. And then it did move. And then it wouldn't move. And then it did move. And then it wouldn't move. So what I ended up having to do was actually push on the slide to actually get it to move. Finally got the slide out, and I just couldn't figure out why it would go but then not go. I thought there was something binding. I thought it was mechanical. But what I ended up finding out was that it actually was this thing called a shear pin, and the shear pin had been sheared off. And so now we're going to go outside and I'm going to show you exactly what that looks like and how to fix it. All right, so we're out here at the slide, and this is the slide that has the issue. This is the bedroom closet. So what we're going to do is we're going to look up in here, and we're going to actually look at the gearing and the motors to see where that shear pin is, and to kind of look and see how this thing works. All right, so up under here you can see here is the rack and pinion kind of thing. See those toothed gears right there, and if you look back in there, you can see the gear that turns, that moves this out and in. And over here you can actually see there's the motor. And on the motor it has a switch on this left side over here that you can disengage or engage the motor. So when you're working on it, that you can turn the motor kind of off so you can actually turn it and twist it. Now on this other side over here, you'll see that here's my wrench, and you can see that goes on a bolt head, and you can see a hitch pin that's right there. And that hitch pin, if you loosen that, you can actually turn the shaft. But if you look up in here, if you look right there on that, you can see a hole that is right there. And that hole goes through this gear, through the shoulder of that gear, and up through the shaft. And inside of that hole, there's supposed to be a shear pin, and that pin is supposed to shear off if too much pressure or something, so the shaft of the motor doesn't break. The shear pin costs 89 cents for 2 of them, and the motor costs $1,000. So I'd much rather shear pins off than replace a motor. And so what's happened is we have sheared that pin off. So what we need to do is actually replace that shear pin. Now, how I figured that out was I had someone inside hold the key down to switch to actually move the slide out, and I could see the shaft up in here. I could see the shaft turning, but the gear wasn't. So I knew that this gear here wasn't connected to the shaft mechanically. So that's what we're going to do today, is replace that shear pin. First you have to knock the old one out, and then you have to put a new one in, or knock the remnants of the old one out and then put a new one in. Okay, so this is a shear pin, or a spring pin, or a split pin. You can see it's hollow, it's made out of steel, it's rolled up, and it's got this split right down the middle of it. What we're going to do is we're going to line up the hole here with the hole in the shaft, and then we're just going to drive it through with a hammer. So right now we've got to make sure that we're all lined up, so that's what we'll do first, and then we will get the hammering. Now I've got access right there to that hole. And so now what we've got to do is we've got the motor disengaged over there. So now what I'm going to do is try to turn this until I see that hole, which is right there, I think. All right. So that was the old shear pin that came out. So now what we need to do is take the new shear pin and get it started in that hole right there. tap it in with it.
Dad.
Okay, so now that's there. We got to get it a few more times with something flat. It's not exactly easy to get to. Okay. All right, so you can see that the new pin is now in, and so now we're going to test it and see if it works. All right, so that was all there was to it. It was a whole lot of diagnosing and trying to figure out what was going on with it, and what was wrong, and finally figured it out. You know, it kind of threw me a curveball because it would move, so I thought the shear pin hadn't sheared off, but it actually had. It was just the friction of that gear on that shaft that would move it a little bit. So shear pin is in, or spring pin, or split pin, whatever you want to call it, that's in. I've got some extras. Happens again, I'll know what to do. So hope this has helped you. I hope that you get out there and do some camping with your family and spend some time together. Enjoy each other. Make it church on Sunday.